Some locations in Tel Aviv carry an almost mythic resonance, addresses that longtime residents speak of with a mixture of reverence and longing, places where the city's layered history and vibrant present seem to concentrate into something approaching perfection. Schiefer Street belongs to this rarefied category, and numbers 13 to 15 occupy perhaps the most remarkable position on a remarkable street. The site rises on a hill. This topographical detail, easily overlooked in a city often perceived as flat, transforms everything. From this elevated perch, the building will command views that extend across the urban landscape to Beit Hamudim, that iconic columned structure that has stood as a Tel Aviv landmark for generations. This particular sightline exists nowhere else. It is unique to this address, a visual privilege that cannot be replicated or purchased at any other location in the city. The project will ultimately comprise 18 apartments spread across 6 floors, an intimate scale that speaks to exclusivity rather than density. Under the direction of architect Yaniv Pardo, the building has been conceived as something more than functional shelter. It aspires to be among the most architecturally distinguished residential structures in Tel Aviv, a city that has never lacked for architectural ambition. The permit has been received. Construction awaits. And those who understand what this location represents are paying close attention. To comprehend why 1315 Schiefer generates such anticipation requires understanding its position in the geography of Tel Aviv's most desirable neighborhoods. Step outside the future building's entrance, and within 1 minute of walking, you can reach the Mediterranean Sea, that endless blue horizon that defines Tel Aviv's western edge and provides its residents with a connection to something vast and timeless. Walk in another direction for the same brief duration, and you arrive at the Carmel Market, that sensory explosion of produce and spices, vendors calling out their wares, the authentic pulse of a city that has never lost touch with its street-level vitality. Continue a bit further, and you reach Rothschild Boulevard, the tree-lined promenade that serves as Tel Aviv's most prestigious address, where Bauhaus buildings share space with new towers, and the cafe culture reaches its fullest expression. 1 minute to the sea, 1 minute to the market, a brief stroll to Rothschild. This is what the project's positioning means in practical terms. A location so central, so connected to everything that makes Tel Aviv compelling, that residents will find themselves embedded in the city's life rather than merely adjacent to it. The architectural vision has been entrusted to Yaniv Pardo, whose work has earned recognition for pushing beyond conventional residential design toward something more expressive and considered. The renderings suggest a building that will assert itself on the streetscape without overwhelming it, contemporary in its lines and materials, yet respectful of the eclectic architectural heritage that gives this neighborhood its distinctive character. The luxury specification has been pitched at an especially high level, reflecting both the prestige of the location and the expectations of buyers drawn to such an address. This is not merely about expensive finishes applied to standard layouts. The project promises exceptional design in every aspect, from the overall massing of the building to the detailing of individual apartments. But it is the signature penthouse that elevates 1315 Schiefer into a category occupied by very few residential offerings anywhere in Tel Aviv. Conceived as a 3-level living experience, this penthouse represents an entirely different approach to urban dwelling, one that treats the vertical dimension as an opportunity for spatial poetry rather than mere stacking of floors. The design philosophy, articulated by interior architect Gad Halperin, approaches each level as a distinct realm of experience. The concept begins with an understanding that meaningful homes are not merely arrangements of rooms, but emotional journeys through space. The top level surrenders itself entirely to the sky. Here, a private rooftop terrace opens to the Tel Aviv horizon, and a swimming pool reflects the Mediterranean light. To swim in your own pool while gazing across the rooftops of this city, to experience that particular combination of privacy and panorama, represents the apotheosis of urban luxury. This is not a shared amenity or a building feature. It is a personal domain, a place of retreat elevated above the urban commotion, yet entirely connected to it. Below this aerial sanctuary, the middle level has been conceived as the heart of social life within the penthouse. This is where living and hosting converge, where generous proportions accommodate both intimate family gatherings and larger celebrations. The space has been designed to capture light and air in abundance, creating an atmosphere that manages to be both calm and perfectly balanced, a backdrop for the art of hospitality that Tel Aviv residents have elevated to a cultural practice. The materials throughout speak a language of warmth and sophistication. Soft lines predominate, avoiding the harsh angularity that can make contemporary spaces feel cold. Mineral tones, the colors of stone and earth, provide a palette that complements the Mediterranean light rather than competing with it. Textures have been chosen for their ability to capture and modulate brightness, creating surfaces that transform throughout the day as the sun traces its arc across the sky. The lowest level of the penthouse turns inward, providing intimate spaces dedicated to rest and tranquility. This is the private heart of the home, a retreat from both the external city and the social spaces above. Here, the design prioritizes calm, creating bedrooms and private areas that offer genuine sanctuary. Together, these three levels create something rarely achieved in residential architecture: a coherent emotional narrative expressed through space. Residents will move through their home as if through a carefully composed experience, from the expansive freedom of the rooftop, through the warm sociability of the middle floor, into the protective intimacy of the private quarters below. It is architecture that understands how people actually live, how their moods shift throughout the day, how a home must serve multiple psychological needs simultaneously. The full personalization offered for these signature penthouses acknowledges that at this level of investment, buyers expect to shape their spaces according to their own visions. The architectural framework provides the bones, the proportions, the light, the fundamental spatial relationships, while individual owners will determine the finishing details that transform a remarkable space into a uniquely personal home. Below the penthouse levels, the remaining apartments in the building offer their own versions of exceptional urban living. The intimate scale of the project, 18 apartments total, ensures that residents will experience something closer to a private building than a typical condominium. The common areas will serve fewer families, the elevators will be less crowded, the sense of community more achievable. Each apartment benefits from the same elevated location, the same architectural distinction, the same proximity to everything that draws people to this corner of Tel Aviv. Whether one chooses a compact unit for maximum efficiency or a larger apartment for family life, the address delivers consistently on its promise of centrality and quality. The neighborhood itself requires little introduction to those who know Tel Aviv. This is the city's historic center, where the first Hebrew streets were laid out, where the Bauhaus masters created the White City, where generations of Tel Aviv's cultural and commercial elite have made their homes. The restaurants here range from humble hummus joints with decades of history to cutting-edge establishments pushing the boundaries of Israeli cuisine. The galleries showcase local and international art. The boutiques offer fashion and design that reflects Tel Aviv's particular aesthetic sensibility. And always, the sea. That constant presence, visible from the upper floors, reachable within moments on foot, providing the city with its characteristic quality of light and its residents with an escape from urban intensity whenever they need it. The salt air drifts inland on the evening breeze. The sound of waves provides background music for those close enough to hear. The beach culture, that casual, egalitarian mixing of all social strata, remains accessible to anyone willing to walk the few steps required. The permit has been received, marking the transition from vision to imminent reality. Soon, the existing structures at 1315 Schiefer will give way to construction activity, and the building will begin its rise from the hilltop site. Those who secure apartments in this project will be joining a community of 18 households, neighbors who will share not just an address, but a privileged position in one of the world's most dynamic cities. 18 apartments, 6 floors, a hilltop location with views found nowhere else, architecture that aspires to be among the city's finest, and at the crown, a 3-level penthouse that reimagines what urban living can become when ambition, location, and design align in perfect harmony. In Tel Aviv, where the Mediterranean meets the Middle East, where history and innovation coexist in constant creative tension, where the pursuit of the good life has been elevated to an art form, 13 to 15, Sheffer takes its place among the most coveted addresses in a city that has no shortage of remarkable places to call home.